Hello, we're back with another episode of S4 League modding tutorials. Today we're going to be going over custom weapons, which is a fair bit more involved than a lot of the other tutorials so far. So this is going to cover things that, for instance, add new mechanics to the game, new gameplay. This is not purely skins, this is the whole suite. It's a little bit complicated. It can vary slightly between versions, but we're going to be using Season 1 as a baseline in this. So, without further ado, I have some mods downloaded that we're going to be able to use to go through this. So this is a whole new weapon for Season 1. It is a custom version of the katana from later versions of the game, recreated in Season 1's engine. So let's go ahead and extract this. And we've got a decent amount of resources here. By this point, you're probably a little bit familiar with a number of these folders, as they tend to match the structure that is seen in here within the resource folder. Oh, just as a reminder for anybody starting fresh, we're going to go over, fire up our resource tool. In this case, I've already got it open. Going to move back over here. And we're going to start moving the assets in. That's the first thing that we want to do here. So we'll keep it simple first. Move over the resources. So let's move the effects over. As you can see, there's quite a number of new effects that are added from this. A number of these are backported from the katana from Season 3. So we'll just go ahead and copy these into the game. I'm going to skip that one. Then we're going to move over to image. It's going to cover things like the icons and whatnot. So image, weapon, and that's where all the icon data is stored. So we're going to load in over here and move the icon data into the folder in-game. Alright, we're going to close the image folder, go back to the resources. Lastly, we'll add the model. So the last of the simple steps. So this is just adding the weapon model. We're going to want to go to Resources, Model, Weapon. And we're going to want to drag all of these inside. Now, we're not quite done with that because we also need to change the animation biped, since there's new animations in this that Season 1 does not have natively. So we're going to go back to the model folder, go to character, male bip and female bip. So these are basically the animation libraries for the game. So we're going to navigate here. We're going to overwrite these. What these are is these are, let me go ahead and accept that. The two of these are a modified version of the base game's biped that contain every single animation in the game up to the final version of the game. So that gives us way more things to work with, as well as some custom animations included within. So we're going to go ahead and go back here. Go to script. Alright, the script section is a little bit different. There is still one more resource to go over, so we'll go ahead and add those first. And that would just be the sounds, which is fairly easy. So, you just want to navigate to the same location in the resources, sound, and then just add the new attack sounds from the later katana. Perfect. Now if we go back to resources, now comes the tricky part. We need to start moving over the actual code to make this weapon work. The way that custom weapons work in S4 is because of the fact that certain things like attribute IDs and whatnot are hard-coded, we kind of have a limited number of slots for them. So we need to be kind of tricky about what we do and don't use from the IDs. There is a decent amount of attribute IDs that are unused in the game, or things that are left over from scrap weapons and whatnot, and those can be repurposed for this. So what do I mean with attribute IDs? We're actually going to take a look real quick. So if we go into the script folder here, the attack attribute indexer is the main index of all of those attribute IDs. We're actually going to want to pull that out of the game, and then we're going to want to take this snippet of code and insert it into our attribute indexer. So let's go ahead and get those scripts implemented first. The easy part is adding the scripts. So we're going to look into the folder. A couple of these Lua files, see, anyone that says it's a text document that says paste means we're going to be adding code from here to our existing client file, but everything that isn't can just be replaced. So for our purposes, we are going to take actor states constants, actor states gameplay, actor states katana sword, actor states normal states, actor states run states, weapon katana sword, and preview actor anim setting. All of these files are going to replace the existing ones. So, for instance, if we look at the actor states run states, we can see that the modified vanilla file here has the added animation indexes and data for all of the running states with the katana. And the states that are defined here are also going to be defined in the indexer. So we're going to go ahead and replace these existing files for now. And now we need to modify the two new files. So we're going to open both of these. And now we need to modify those files. So we need to modify the attack attribute indexer and the weapon in it. So first we want to look through the script folder and find the attack attribute index. Right here. And the weapon in it, which is nearer to the bottom. We'll do the weapon in it. That one is simple enough. So this is just the shop preview animation. Actually, no, my bad. That's something else. The weapon in it is just telling it where to find the relevant scripts. At least it's half of that code. The other half of that code is handled by the weapon Lua XML, which we will get to in a bit. But for now, we are just going to add this to the end of weapon init. So that's now registered. And now this is the attack attribute indexer. So to briefly explain this, each of these attribute IDs binds a new attack using unused attribute ID and attack data. So this is how we create the new attacks for the weapons. Every single attack needs an attribute ID. So for in this case, we're using the unused card gun for a lot of these. And then on top of that, the effects for the weapon, you know, things like the particle effects and whatnot, they also need attribute IDs, so we're using an unused attack attribute for the spy dagger jump, and we're using an unused one for critting with the spark rifle. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take this whole section, copy this, going to go back and open the attack attribute index. We can really place this wherever. For our purposes, we're just going to scroll down a little bit before we throw this in. Find the end of a section. say we look at the old katana. Okay, that's the first instance, and that's the bat. So we're just going to make a new entry after the bat and paste that in. We can now save this. Actually, I'm missing a step because of the fact that we are adding these. We do want to make sure that these old unused attributes are no longer defined in the page. So we just want to quickly do a search for each of those. And simply remove them. It's a little bit tricky to figure out which one is the beginning and ending of each. So we're going to remove that. Look for cat. We're going to remove this one. And then the last one of the attack IDs that need to be removed. Now we need to remove the effects. Down here, so attack, trib, spy, dagger, jump, and then the one for the spark rifle. That's the jump critical, and then this is the jump. And then we'll do the last one for the spark rifle. Alright, we can now add that back into the folder for both of these. So we're going to close that out, close this out. Overwrite both. And move on to the XMLs, which is actually surprisingly near the end. Although we still have the language files to go over to. But that's easy enough and kind of ties into adding custom weapons, like weapon skins and whatnot. But for now, we'll do with the XMLs. These are all pastes by the nature of how the XMLs work for adding items in S4. You can't really just give someone your XML or the X7 file for it. They're still just XMLs, it's a different format, but we need to pull out item info, weapon Lua, and weapon X7. So we're going to do just that. Weapon Lua, weapon X7, item info. And we're just going to go one by one, grab the pastes. So for these at least, you don't really need to remove anything like we did with the index. You literally just need to add these new entries, as these are the entries for the item. So we're going to start with item info. We'll look for wherever the base katana is. Then scroll to the very bottom of this section. That's where the subcategory ends. That's where weapon is no longer defined. and this changes over from melee weapons into machine guns. So this is the last melee weapon that we have defined. In that case, we want to add our new entry here. So we're just going to paste these two entries. So we now have 609 and 612 with a little bit of funky formatting going on. There we go. There's 2 katana skins that this mod comes with, so we just added both of those as items to the game. We're going to go ahead and save that, and we can close out the item info paste. And that's all we needed to change for item info. Now we're going to move on to the weapon Lua, which is the only other one that's a little bit of a pain, as the weapon entries are fairly straightforward. So we're going to open up weapon Lua X7 and just paste it in. That's it for the weapon Lua. We can now close this, and now we just have the final paste to grab. Grab this, go to our weapon X7, that's when it changes. It really doesn't matter where you place it, but just to keep things organized, we're going to go ahead and increment at the end of the melee weapons and paste that additional code. We're going to go ahead and save. And then we can close this and close weapon X7. And now we can go ahead and re-import those into the game. Alright. You can go ahead and remove these. Actually, just throw them into script. And now, simple enough, we're going to want to go to the language folder, XML, and we want to paste some new information into item info so that the name that we added for the item will be able to show in game. So we're going to pull the item info string table out, open this up, open the paste, copy this. Right, there's actually 3 different locations that we have to paste for this one. So the first one is the string name key. And we're just going to look and find wherever the current katana is. Keep searching around until we see something that looks like what we're looking for. Here we go. String name key. We're going to go ahead and add our key. This is the name of our katana. We could reuse this one in this specific situation, but for the purposes of adding a new weapon, you generally want to add a new one. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We also want to save the name for the other katana skin. So we are going to do that. And then this is a description key. So we're going to save this with the rest of the descriptions. To find them, we're just going to search something like plasma sword. 200, 203. Really there isn't much organization here, so it doesn't really matter. We're just going to add this to the tip section here. Alright, now that's the last of the text strings. So we can go ahead and close that, close that. Now we're going to want to drag this back into the client. Now we are almost done, but we have to do a couple more things that you may be familiar with if you've already added custom weapons to the game before. For one, we have to add it to the database. For two, we have to update the XMLs on the server side. So we'll update the XMLs first. That's a little simpler. So we're going to go over here, go to data in our server folder, and language XML. We are going to, I should not have removed that. Ah, good, I did not. We're going to copy this, paste it in here, overwrite. Now we're going to go to data again. Now the scripts aren't stored here. The XML is, however. So we're going to want to paste item info in here. And overwrite. Now the last steps for server side is going into the database. So I have my game database here, which is where your player items are stored, as well as the shop items. We are going to open shop item infos. And now we need to reference the old files here. The item info paste should have the IDs that we need. Yes, it does. The IDs are matched in the name key. So when you have them in item info, it does not have the complete ID, as seen item number 609. But because of the category system, the actual number of the item ID is 200000609. So we're going to copy that for the regular katana, and then the other, oh no, this is for the Nippondo, so this is for the skin, but either way we're going to be adding both of them, so we'll copy this one's item ID first. Going to create a new entry, going to increment the ID, 1042. We're going to add this item ID. Price group is going to match everything else. Effect group is going to match everything else. 0 discount, and is enabled. Now we're going to add the other ID. We're going to take 1043, add this here, same as before. Now this is the primary table for shop items. There's also a secondary table which has their information, and that is what we're going to go and add to next. You must add to this table first though, because this table directly references it. So now we can add the entries with their item information. So we're just going to take this ID, add him, acquired license, 0, we don't have one assigned. Colors, now this works off of 0 being one color, 1 being one extra color. So in this case, we need to check how many colors we have for the katana. I know the pack comes with a few. Images is the easiest way to tell. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 for each. So we are going to input that as 3. Because 1 means 2, due to the fact that this works off of 0 being 1. So just want to keep that in mind. Unique colors, that is always 0. That is an unrelated thing to the colors that you select when buying. Required level 0, level limit 0, master level 0, one-time use 0, and is destroyable 1, just determines whether or not you can sell it back. If they're added to the database, the last thing that you want to do is go to your shop version and just increment by 1 to force the game to update. Now you will need to launch the servers again, so we're just going to do that real quick. And now we'll load up the game, test out our new weapon. Go ahead and go into the shop. And now we have the katana right here, with all of the colors that it needs. So let's go ahead and buy this one. Replace our plasma sword. Go ahead and try it out in game. As you can see, the animations seem to be working. Right, we're missing some of the model files. I'll have to get that corrected. But yeah, otherwise, aside from the missing textures, it's all working. So that concludes the custom weapons tutorial.